Trying to make an earthquake. I have been trying to make an earthquake for longer than I care to admit. Not a big one, mind you. Nothing theatrical. Just a modest, well-mannered tremor. Something in the magnitude 4 or 5 range would do nicely. A polite clearing of the earth's throat. Enough to make the teacups rattle and the neighbors ask questions, but not enough to inconvenience anyone important. The theory is elegant. Faults store elastic energy the way a drawn bow stores potential. If the bow is already pulled almost to its limit, the smallest additional nudge can release the whole thing. Avalanches work on the same principle. A single snowboarder does not supply the energy of the sliding snow. He merely persuades the snow that now is the moment. I have always found that idea rather beautiful. So I have studied the usual candidates. There was the surface vibrator approach. Large machines that thump the ground at carefully chosen frequencies, hoping to speak to a fault in its own language. The energy that actually reaches several kilometers down turns out to be vanishingly small. The Earth, it seems, is an excellent muffler. Then there were the high-frequency radio experiments. One can heat patches of the ionosphere with impressive power. Directing that energy usefully into the crust, however, is another matter entirely. Radio waves of those frequencies do not travel far through rock. Lower the frequency enough to penetrate, and the energy spreads so thinly it becomes almost ceremonial. I have also considered more direct methods. Fluid injection can change pore pressure and has, in certain places, been linked to real seismic activity. Underground explosions, chemical or otherwise, produce their own seismic signals and can, under special circumstances, tip a nearby fault that was already close to failure. The energy numbers are sobering. The entire electrical charge stored between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere is roughly equivalent to a couple of tons of TNT. Useful for a lively afternoon, perhaps, but not for rearranging tectonic plates. And yet the principle remains intact. If a fault segment is already critically stressed, a relatively modest disturbance in the right location could, in theory, be enough. The difficulty lies in knowing which fault is that close and exactly where the critical patch sits. We can measure the slow accumulation of strain with GPS and satellites. We can map the geometry of many major faults with considerable accuracy. What we cannot yet do is read the precise remaining strength of any particular segment with the confidence required for deliberate triggering. I keep a small notebook of near misses and theoretical windows. The entries are growing more refined, the calculations more careful. I have not succeeded. The Earth remains politely uncooperative. Still, every failed attempt teaches something about scale, coupling, and the quiet stubbornness of rock. Perhaps one day the right combination of location, timing, and method will align. Until then, I continue the work in the spirit of patient inquiry. The planet is large, the stored energy immense, and the margin between stability and release narrower than most people imagine. That margin is worth understanding, whether or not one ever manages to cross it on purpose. For now, the teacups remain still. I find that oddly encouraging. It means there is still something left to try.